22. 22 days remain until Election Day. And the big question is whether the morning's LALATE video will be finished with YT processing by then. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Morning's LALATE, and boy, if you did not see the twists and turns this morning, the YT processing time for the Morning's LALATE video was a hot mess expressed unto itself. Needless to say, it was recorded hours ago, and it took hours and hours and hours to process. I don't know what to say, but I'm here, you're here, and sometime between the 22 days before the election, the video will be done. If you did not watch the video, please watch the video and make up for the loss of viewership that video may suffer because of the slow processing time. Not our fault. So share it, post it, have your dog and cat watch it a couple times so that we get caught up and get that video to 100,000 views like it normally is. This is 28, and thank you for tuning me. Go to the Funnest channel, subscribe because we keep it real even when things are stuck. And also like this video. In today's video, I'll be going over what's going to happen in the next 22 days of this election and what's happening today on the 22nd day until the election. Big developments as Wall Street reacts to other economic indicators that have nothing to do with stimulus, and why the president retweeted that Wall Street was trading up. Moreover, I'll be going over renewed hopes for continued negotiations between Pelosi and Mnuchin, and why Mnuchin's latest maneuver on Sunday may have worked. That's quite interesting. Also, the Trump administration fires back at those reports from Friday saying that the GOP is divided on stimulus, says untrue. So let's get to the breaking news this morning. Sunday afternoon, a press release hit the papers, and that was from the White House and the press secretary and the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin. Very unusual twist, and gotta say, it worked. There was a 3-armed attack by the White House Sunday, and if you did not catch it, it was so probative for second stimulus. The push was 1, we gave a really good offer. 2, we're not going to just say it's good. We're going to let you see it for yourself, and we're going to have it suddenly appear, aka leak, into NBC News' reporting. 3, we're going to make it very clear that there's a lot of money hanging around, and the Temple Doom doesn't want to have you have it. Well, ultimately, some viewers liked the push, others kept on point, which is purple power. Do the executive orders. There's enough blame game done, and I think we've all sort of exhausted the blame game. We're more like the money game, the payday game. Give us the money or zip it. And people are a little tired of the blame. But at least we know how much money people want to give us, and that's the really great news. You know, after weeks of me saying certain things, we want financials from Mnuchin. We want more money for dependents. We want Mnuchin to come up with up on his state and local number. Guess what Mnuchin did? Every single thing that this channel has been asking him to do, with the exception of one item. Think he's watching? Think your tweets to him are working? I think so. Mnuchin came up higher on his dependent check, came up higher on state and local, came up higher on FPUC. The only thing that he didn't do right was he put FPUC further into the future, not further backwards. Now, ultimately, that's an opinion of if it's good or not. It's my opinion it's not as good as going backwards as opposed to going forward. More about that in a second. But ultimately, someone seems to be hearing what I'm saying on this channel, and your tweets are working. First, the great news is that the dependence check for adults on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits up, finally. If you don't know where that number has gone, it has gone down and up and down and up. Well, now it's up on one side and down on her side. The original HEROES Act from the Democrats was to give a dependent on SSI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits $1,200 stimulus check. At the time, the Republicans weren't going to give you anything. Then they were going to give you $500. Then the problem solvers were going to give you two $500 checks. Then Mnuchin was going to give you one $500 check. Now he's at one $1,200 check. Well, we're making incredible progress. This is a person who would not have gotten the first stimulus check because you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits, and you were a dependent. Remember, it's the dependent issue that I'm going over. Dependents got treatment different under CARES Act 1 just because they were a dependent. Understand, it's not because you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or Railroad benefits. It was because you were a dependent. So minor dependents, $500 stimulus checks. Adult dependents, CARES Act 1, no stimulus check. This time around, totally different. Totally different. Mnuchin's offer is every adult gets $1,200. I don't care if you're dependent. I don't care if you're a minor dependent. This is incredibly great news. Next, children, $500 from Mnuchin. This is fine. This is fine. These are basically young people that would not be inherently spending a lot of money, have not, worked because they're children. This is not Oliver Twist. The children don't work unless, children going hungry, but they don't work. So this is all great news. Also, the other big development over the weekend was two other items from Mnuchin. Higher on state and local, $300 billion. This is enough to do the deal. I mean, no one's going to buy that you need $400. It's just not going to fly. Moody's Analytics, Governors Association says you only need $150 billion, so the White House is doubling it. Meadows has said he would go to $300 billion, the president. I said that 4 weeks ago. When Mnuchin delivered his $1.6 trillion offer, it was $200 billion for state and local. I said, what are you doing? Come on now. The White House said you'll go to 300. Call it 300 and make it a day. And well, he did. And she did not make it a day. She said go to 400. Well, 400 is ridiculous. And that's crazy. And that should be in the committee as well. Then came FPUC. The offer for FPUC was much better. It extended the number of weeks of FPUC into the future, into mid-January, which is a progress. I just think it should have gone the other way. Now, it is retroactive. It's just not retroactive enough. It's retroactive September 12th under Mnuchin. Temple Doom, September 5th, retroactive. Everyone knows it should be retroactive to late July. The end result is that because it's not retroactive to late July, you're missing FPUC for the month of August. Now they're going to give it to you further into the month of January. But that's presuming that you're unemployed in January. Well, you were unemployed in July and August. So why not pay people for something that clearly has happened as opposed to something we just don't know if it will happen? The interesting facet as we start the new day is the pushback additionally about that GOP infighting. There were reports Friday and Saturday detail on this channel that the GOPs were really, in the last 22 days, hammering back against the president and allegedly saying to him, no, we're not going to 1.8, we're not going to 1.6, we'll stay at 1, we'll stay at 0. What are you doing? Well, the president pushed back and said that reporting was inaccurate today. The question is, why is Senator Lee, who reportedly was on the phone slamming the president about 1.8 and is COVID-19 positive just a few days ago, why is he in person at the Judge Barrett hearings? Apparently risking your life for a congressional hearing for Supreme Court nominee for Senator Lee is more important than risking your life to get American stimulus. The congressional hearings are underway in the Senate for the Barrett nomination today. And Amy Klobuchar absolutely went off the rails. If you went to Twitter, some people thought it was great, some people thought it was ridiculous. But she did talk about stimulus and said, why are we focusing on this and not stimulus? Thank you. Thank you. Representative Lee was, coughing over her talking, just like, I'm just kidding. He was just like really not happy she was talking about stimulus, you could tell. Needless to say, the Senate is closed still, and I want to make that clear to you. The Senate is in recess, which is different than the Senate subcommittees. And I know this sounds really weird, but the reason why the Senate cannot vote on any stimulus package for you is the Senate's on recess, but they can still have subcommittees for nominations. What's so good about the Mnuchin offer were the numbers. $300 billion for state, Stimulus checks, $1,200 for adults. Oh, I misspoke. I can make a mistake now and then. 1,000 for child. I said 500 for child. It's 1,000 for child. Okay, sorry about the mistake. So you just got another $500 by staying to 9 minutes of this video. You never know when I fix mistakes. Okay, there we go. Needless to say, the airlines did not get what they want under Mnuchin offer. They wanted $28 billion. They got 20. Well, you can deal with 20. Lodging industry. Who are they? Well, they just sort of jumped in there and they're suddenly had their hands out. They're getting $20 billion. And postal, yeah, that thing you're chasing around, $10 billion. The question is, though, what is going on with Wall Street and this president and stimulus? Well, Wall Street still thinks that a stimulus deal is going to be reached. This is quite interesting. And ultimately, Wall Street's usually right. The question is, why is the president so laser focused on this? The push with purple power still remains executive orders. It should not be on legislative. We are renewed and hopeful that anything with Mnuchin and Pelosi goes through. But ultimately, stimulus checks need to go out by the president. He has the money. He needs to do the money, and he should do the money. And on Sunday, he talked about the money, and he talked more about the details of this reports on this channel. The president confirmed a lot of things that I've been reporting to you over the last 5 days on Sunday. First, he confirmed that there's a lot of money. Second, the lot of money is upwards of $500 billion. It's a lot of money. Third, he confirmed it's CARES Act 1 money that's unused. Fourth, he confirmed my reporting that's PPP money. Told you. 6, did I do 5th? I don't know. 6, he confirmed it's in Jovita Carranza's offices. Well, it's not in her office per se. It's not under the scarves, but it's in SBA. 7, he confirmed that he wants to have it repurposed. And then came the blame game. All that was perfect. We got the money, we know where it is, we know what we got to do with it, we need to repurpose this, and then he blamed it. He blamed it on Temple Doom. Said, you repurpose it. No, sir, you repurpose it. Come on already. Now, we know he can repurpose it, and no one's going to buy that blame game because ultimately we have seen him repurpose money before. When FEMA repurposed hurricane disaster, a tornado, federal emergency disaster relief funds for FEMA for unemployment assistance. Yeah, one has absolutely nothing to do with the other. But FEMA said, hi, we have your money. Come and get your money. It's here at FEMA. Why does FEMA have unemployment money? Well, it's the same as why does Jovita Carranza have your stimulus checks? It's called repurposing. The president just called up the phone, spoke to FEMA. No one saw the conversation. It was never recorded. It was never seen. There's no Nixon tapes. It was not, done on, Fox News. He just called up FEMA, or someone in his office called up FEMA and says, hi, you have this money. Now you're the entity that's going to have repurposed money. Send it out. He needs to call up Jovita Carranza, get his scarf on, get in yin and yang with Jovita and both talk with your scarves on and say, Jovita, you have some money. We're going to repurpose the money and we're going to send out stimulus checks. Okay, Mr. President, done. He needs an executive order for this one. He does not need one for FPUC because he has an executive order for that. The question is when and how soon and why not right now and why not yesterday? Viewers ask me that every single day, and I simply just don't know the answer. Here's some of your incredible questions from yesterday's recording. Tammy, all Washington politicians, including President Trump, should have lived homeless to understand what's going on. Cindy, the worst part of it is that politicians will lose their jobs, and they just don't grasp the severity of the situation. It's comments like this that people really understand that the concern here is that the relief needs to come down. And as you sit here 22 days before the election, what I want you to be educated and informed about, because I don't want you to be absolutely blindsided on day 1 or day 0 or day -1, which is the day after the election. I don't want you to be blindsided about this. If President Trump loses and the Senate turns Democrat, then what happens the day after the election? Potentially nothing. Because none of those people are yet in office. They don't come into office until January. And so you have people in office from November to January who are voted out that are just sitting there like this. Do you think they're going to give you stimulus? I don't think they will. Do you think that there's going to be some way to say, push him to give you stimulus? I don't think so. Do you think the president's going to give you executive orders for stimulus if Joe Biden wins and that the president has to sit there from, November to January? Well, there's one scenario I think he might, and I got to tell you, it's a screwy one. And I do want to tell you this item. You can determine it on your own volition. But generally the answer is no. But there is a possibility. The possibility is if Joe Biden wins and the president contests the election, the contesting of the election could go on months. And it absolutely could go on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And the end result is the president will still be in the Oval Office and may then want to send out stimulus checks because he wants to distract you from the fact that he just lost the re-election. Now, what started today? What started today is that the GOP was shot down in a big, I don't know what you would call it, revelation that they were telling ballots to be dropped off at a polling place in California, and that polling place is fake. Yeah, it's starting to hit, and I don't want you to think that it's not going to be all over the place. So if the president lost and Joe Biden's coming in January, but the president's still in the Oval Office for the next few weeks, what happens then? Do you think he's going to do executive orders for you? No. Do you think he'll do executive orders if he's trying to do this thing that I really won, but Joe cheated the election? He might, but that's a real big thing for us to stretch and hope for. Okay, so what happens if Trump loses, but the Senate is still Republican? Oh my God. That is like, Mitch is still in the majority head, and it's still Republican, and we still have the Democratic House, and we have... That's just very, very complicated. As you see here, as I sit here today, you see that the real clearest path is a Trump executive order now when everything is sort of clean. Come election day, it's going to be a hot mess. You're going to have the Senate going one way, Republican or Democrat. You're going to have the House State Democrat. You're going to see the presidency maybe flip. And then you're going to have all this uncertainty of whether the election is final or whether the election is contested. That'll go on for weeks potentially. And you're like, where's my darn stimulus check? This is why you need executive orders. So Purple Power, push, and get it done. Go to the Furnace channel, subscribe. Subscribe because I try to make things very easy for you, fluid, and as someone said, I never knew so much workings of how the political government does things until this channel, but thank you so much. I appreciate that. Also like this video. It's important to understand these twists and turns, and I'm here for you. Coming up this afternoon at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, assuming YT processing times are not any more screwy, is afternoons at LALATE. And that will be a good one. 2 hours of programming followed by evenings at LALATE. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay at LA for more.